Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, maybe for some of you. Welcome to this first webinar in this Romexis Masterclass webinar series. I'm very happy to see so many of you there, almost 200, and it seems there's coming more and more all the time. So I hope you get some new skills that you can master then in Romexis from this webinar. My name is Saila Parmes, and I work as the sales manager here at Planmeca for Romexis, and I will be telling you now for the next hour about our 3D imaging module, about all the necessary and most important tools that you can start with working on Romexis. If you happen to get or have any questions at any stage during this webinar, so please feel free to type them into the chat. And I have my colleagues Heljanna and Osku there. They will be answering you while I give the presentation, and then at the end of the webinar, we will also answer any unanswered questions. So hope you enjoy, and let's get started. Some of you, Romexis might be a common tool that you use already every day, but now we have introduced last summer the new Romexis 7 version, and this version is important because it has a lot of AI tools in it that will really help in your daily workflows. And as you know, Romexis is an all-in-one software. We have all the 2D, 3D, CAD/CAM is found in the same software, nice and easy. But today's webinar, like I said, we'll concentrate on the 3D side. So I have here all the patient files, and let's start by opening up this 3D image. I could have, of course, captured any new images directly also from there, but now let's use these existing volumes. And the great thing with Romexis is, of course, that we can have many different sized volumes. I will be showing a few different sized volumes and what you can do with those, because there are, of course, different benefits for each. Now, if we start to look to this 3D module in Romexis, first of all, inside the 3D module, as there are so many different kind of volumes and different kind of diagnostic needs that we might have, so therefore we have also divided the 3D module into sub-modules that you can see up here. And today I will cover the 5 first ones of these, and then the rest of these, the 3 last ones, those will be covered then in later webinars. But if we start looking at the 3D module, so first of all, up here on this upper toolbar, you have different kind of importing and exporting and capturing new images, creating printouts, reports. I will go into more detail with some of those later on, but then it's this right side toolbar is the place where we can adjust the volume. First of all, of course, maybe the first things that you want to do is the adjustment of the volume if needed, and then of course different kind of measurement and segmentation tools. And so when we get the new image here, if we need to adjust any contrast and brightness, those can be found here on this toolbar. And then for example, if we want to adjust also some of the slice view settings, so if we want to see more slices in some of these views, so that can be then done from each views, this wrench icon that we have there. So you can add multiple slice views, for example. But also another thing, of course, in the 3D module, important thing to understand is how do we navigate in the volume. So we have there 2 different kind of settings. As for Romexis, we have many different kind of users. So there's also, we have wanted also to be able to provide 2 different kind of ways of navigating. So now what I'm doing is that I'm moving with the mouse left button, I'm clicking, and with the mouse right button, I'm rotating the volume if I want to centralize my views to the exact center of these axes. But there's also the possibility, if you wish, that instead of moving the volume here, like you can see now I'm moving the volume with the mouse left and right clicks. So you can deactivate this move and rotate volume. And then you can just click on a specific spot with the mouse left click, and Romexis will centralize the views directly to that specific point. So now instead of moving the volume and the image there, we are moving these axes. So that is one thing that you can configure by default, which one is your preferred way, and that you can actually set here in the default settings. Another big thing to know is also this zooming and or slicing in the views. So now, for example, when I have this enabled by default, so when I use the mouse scroll wheel, so I'm zooming in the volume. But if I deactivate this, then the mouse scroll wheel moves in the slices. So if you want to go little by little, so it's very nice and easy with this mouse scroll wheel. You can, of course, do it also here from these sliders. But these two tools are things that you can configure here in the default settings. How do you want to see them? So we have in the default settings under the Explorer, we find the zoom with scroll wheel and move and rotate volume. So you can either enable or disable these as default as you wish. So all the changes that I just do here, they are only applied now to this volume. But if I do it in the default settings, then it will be applied to all the new volumes, always when I open up Romexis again or any patient, any volume. So then these will be applied to all the new images. Okay, well, navigating, of course, it's nice and easy like this, like we have traditionally maybe been accustomed to. But I must now go into some of the AI tools that we have. So as some of you may have noticed, Romexis here has already, with the help of AI, it has detected and traced the mandibular nerves for this volume, for this patient. And that is by default can be configured so that Romexis always does it whenever you capture a new image. So actually there Romexis uses this smart anatomy tool. It's a tool that we can also decide to manually run from here, but of course more useful if you configure it so that Romexis always runs that AI directly after the image capture. And apart from this nerve tracing, so what this AI tool does, Smart Anatomy, it also detects all the tooth numbers. So now, instead of us needing to navigate here in the slices, we can just easily select some tooth here and click on that tooth, and Romexis will automatically centralize the views to that specific tooth. So then it's nice and easy for us to then go through all the area around that tooth, see every detail. So you just click on the tooth numbers here, or you can even use these arrows to move from one tooth to another. And it makes it very simple. And of course, you get also a nice overview here. There are other things that the same AI does as well, but I will go into those in a short moment. But with the help of the AI tool and this tooth navigation, we can also easily, for example, visualize different teeth here in the 3D rendered view. So, for example, we can select it so with the help of this 3D button that Romexis only shows that specific tooth number that we have selected. It only shows that one in the 3D rendered view. So especially if we imagine that we would have here some molar would be very close to the nerve, or there would be some impacted tooth that we would want to visualize. So all of that is possible then. Or let's say it's easier to visualize it for the patient or for yourself for better treatment planning. Okay, then if we take a look at the normal measuring tools, which are of course important as well. So we can find here, there is actually in Romexis 3D module, we have different kind of tools. Here we find some segmentation, manual segmentation, and fitting tools. I will show some of those later on. But then below that, in the annotation category, we can find the traditional measuring tools, for example. So of course, if we do some measurement, let's measure now, for example, the distance of this tooth. So the measurement obviously is shown there, but also in Romexis, we have this, what we call object browser. Now let's bring that up. So we have this object browser which collects all of the different add-ons that we have added, whether it's measurements, annotations, text notes, intraoral scans, any segmentations of the teeth, of the mandible maxilla. So all of those, they are saved here. And this is the place where we can then manage the different annotations, and also we can then use this to navigate to different kind of findings. So we have the tooth navigation up here, like we saw, but then of course there might be other findings, other views that we want to save. So this is the place where they are saved. And for example, so now I have made the annotation here. So now let's see if for example, we go back to some other location in the volume, and I want to get back to the annotation that I just made. So I can just click here on the measurement, and Romexis will automatically restore all these views to that specific place where I made the annotation from. So that is automatically done. And we also, like you can see here, there's also this views category. So also if you don't want to do any annotations to remember and to save that view, so you can also save views, and that then happens from here. So you can navigate in the volume to anywhere where you find something interesting to be saved. Then you click this save view. You add here, for example, you add a text, and that one is saved here under the views. And so, for example, I have here already for the same volume, we have saved the places where we are missing the teeth. So you can find them, but this is a very nice and easy way also then to find back to the specific location where we found something worth looking at. And apart from these view savings, so this is everything now is saved in the 3D module, but there might be, of course, times that we also want to save, for example, for reporting and printing needs, we might want to save some specific view or the whole 4 views that we have here to the 2D as a 2D image. So therefore, we also have here this camera icon. It's called Quick Shot. You can find it on each of these categories. So if you click here, for example, I click now there. So you saw the screen flashed, and that meant that specific view was saved now to the 2D module side. So it is saved here. We have different categories, different kind of images. So it is now saved to the patient file. And it is easy, of course, for example, to add that to a printout, for example, to a report if we need to do. And then again, if you would want to save the whole view or all the 4 views at the same time, so for that we then have the same camera icon, but called Snapshot, so that you can find then up here. And here you can select which are the views that you want to save. For example, you can remove that one. You can hide the axes if you don't want those to the image. And then you can decide whether you want color image or grayscale image, if you want the images to be 3 separate images, or if you want them to be one image as it is. And this is the place where you can create also image stacks if you would want, for example, an axial stack for any reason or purpose. And when you do this from here, So then you click OK, and then Romexis generates the images. Now it seems I have selected generate as separate images, so then all those 3 images, they appear here as separate images. But the idea basically is that we adjust here the things that we want to see in the picture or we don't want to see, and then Romexis creates the snapshot as it is. Okay. So we were checking the measuring tools, the annotation tools. Then another nice tool here is that, for example, if let's take a look to this tooth, for example. So let's zoom in a bit. So we have also under the annotation tools, we have a root canal drawing tool. And now to use that one, if you want to measure the root canal for a specific tooth, to use that one, so it's good to zoom in the different volumes. And now you can, of course, you could draw it from any of these slice views, or you can even jump and start drawing it from one place and then continue with another slice view. But the idea is that, for example, now here I will bring the axial slice to here. And let's activate the tool, and then I can start clicking. So you can start clicking here, for example, or you can do it directly here in the axial view. So however, wherever you best see it, that you can see the root canal from. So it draws the root canal there, but it also shows at the same time the measurement. And this is something, again, that is added here. It's found under the nerves. In that category, you can activate it if you want to do some modifications. Of course, if you want to fix it from different views, so that is possible as well here. I will show you later another actual endodontic volume with an even better resolution, so we can do it there as well. Okay, then last but not least at all, let's go to the 3D rendering and some new nice tools that we have with the AI. So I told you about this smart anatomy tool, and in this one we have a lot of different functions that it does. So like we saw, it did the tooth number detection, that we saw how that works already, but also it does segmentations of different anatomies and landmark detection. So what do those mean? Those mean that we can here in the object browser, we can show or hide all the segmented teeth like this. And we can have also the maxilla and mandible segmented. Now you will see later with another bigger volume that we can also have the sinuses and airways segmented with this one. And then also it recognizes different landmarks. So that is also something that I will show the benefits for that in the bigger volume in a few minutes. But these segmentations, so they are a very nice visualization tool. So for example, I have a tool here under 3D rendering. It's the second one, which is called show and hide renderer. So with that one, I can show and hide the actual CBCT from this view. And now I can manage and decide which are the objects that I want to see here. So these are now the AI segmented teeth, nerve that has been traced, and all of these are now STL files. So basically, all of these, they can be exported if you need to bring them to any other system, but also all of these, you can, for example, move them on top of the volume. You just need to open them up, because by default, when AI does the segmentations, so all of these are locked, so you cannot select them from the list. So you need to open them up by selecting it and clicking the lock, and then it comes the text comes brighter here in the object browser, and then you can select that specific tooth and move it if needed, move it in the volume. And we have been now looking at the first one, the Smart Anatomy. I will also show the Smart Fit tool in this webinar, and then very soon, and then the implant, Smart Implant tool that I will leave for the next webinar that will be in 2 weeks, so for the implant planning. But so I was telling you about the segmentations that we have here, so we can do the different kind of visualizations. We can easily hide and show different objects, different anatomies, so it's nice and easy for communicating with the patient. And as these are also STL files that could be exported or 3D printed, so you can do, for example, I wonder, do you see now anything from my screen? But you can 3D print these models. So you can 3D print all the teeth as separate, smaller files, or you can 3D print, for example, here I have 3D printed the maxilla so that all the teeth are fixed here. So it is up to you then, depending on the case and on the need that you might have, whether you want to have it 3D printed for, again, explaining better to the patient, or doing a better treatment plan yourself, maybe for some complicated case. And of course, if we think of it, typically patients, they don't understand much about the grayscale images that they see here on your screen. So all these segmentations, they can help a lot with the conversations with the patient. And then also, of course, the 3D printed models where they can see everything in real size. And now, if you are one of the people who doesn't like these colors that much, if they are too bright, so we can also use this. We have under the 3D rendering tools, we have also an option to select anatomic colors. So there, Romexis will still show you the segmentations. It's not the actual CBCT data, it's the segmentations. And then they are shown in more realistic colors. So you can see nice and easy as well, all the different anatomies here. So that's one nice way of working with this as well. Okay, but then let's then jump to the next AI tool. Let's hide these, and we have here the next AI tool was this smart fitting of intraoral scans. So the intraoral scan, if we have one for the patient, we can now have the AI to do the fitting for us also. So you can select the upper and lower scans. If you are using our scanner, so then you can just go and select the scan from the patient list. So Romexis shows here all the intraoral scans that the patient has. And if you're importing the intraoral scans from some other system, so then you can use this browse button. Then you click start, and then Romexis will calculate the match for the intraoral scan and there it appeared. And then, of course, like always with AI, we need to check the results. So you can check. I like to check it, for example, here from the coronal view. Nice and easy to check that what we see here as light blue line, so that the intraoral scan follows nicely the actual anatomy of the patient. And that you can, of course, do both for upper and lower jaw if you have both of them, or then only one if needed. Okay, now I think we will move from this Explorer tab. We will move to the Panoramic tab. So the Explorer is for all this general viewing, and there's a lot of these segmentation tools. And then in the Panoramic tab, well, that was traditionally for tracing the panoramic curve. Nowadays, many times, I don't actually need to do anything here because we have this superpan functionality, and actually Romexis always applies that automatically to all the new images. So you get a very nice overview and a very nice virtual panoramic view automatically with Romexis. Then, of course, if you would want to, for any reason, only have the lower jaw or the upper jaw or a smaller area of the curve of the arc visible here, so then of course we have here the manual tools for that as well. Then the implant tab. So now I remind you that we have in 2 weeks the implant planning and guide designing webinar. So I will go through the implant planning tools there. But I want to show a few things also here, because this, if you are a user who doesn't have the Romexis implant planning tools, so anyhow, you will have here a module that will be called then cross sections. And the cross sections will, as the name says, so it will provide you these cross-sectional views. So I will show a few nice things that you can do here, even though you wouldn't need any implant planning tools. So first of all, we have here also the tooth navigation. So you can here as well use this tooth navigation to get, instead of the cross-sectional views, you will get here a tooth-centric view that you can then rotate nice and easy around like this. Then also, if we now look back at the actual cross-sectional views, so first of all, you can here as well, just like we saw in the Explorer, we have here this under the wrench icon, we have the settings. So you can here define how many slice views you want to see, in which order. You can define here also the distances between them. And you can see here how the, for example, now when I adjusted the distance, so we have here the cross-sectional slice lines shown in red. So you can see how the distance varies, and then depending on whether you are wanting to concentrate on the diagnostics of one specific tooth, or for example here it could be the area of the missing tooth. So you can define those. And here you can also adjust the width of the, so how wide is this image that you are seeing here. And this one now, again, all these settings, just like I showed you in the Explorer module. So if I do these settings here, then these are applied only to this image. And then when I open another image, another new image, so it will have the default settings. And if I want to now save these as default settings, I have here again the default settings button, where I can then adjust under the implants or cross sections. I can adjust the cross sections view. So this one. So for example, now if I always would want to have 6 slice views, so I could select the 6th one here as well. Okay, and one last thing that is nice here for the cross sections and cross section viewing is also the possibility, well, you can move the cross sectional slices with this one, and then if you want to have a specific tooth, for example, so that it is vertical here, so with the mouse right button we can rotate the cross-sectional slices here. So mouse left button moves the slices like that, and then with mouse right button you can rotate the views. So this might help also, or these cross-sectional slices might be of course helpful for some diagnostics that you want to do. Okay, then also a few other things I want to mention. So we have, of course, the virtual panoramic view. We also have, I will show that later, but we also have a possibility to create from any CBCTs this virtual cephalometric view if you need a 2D cephalometric image from a CBCT. But now let's open up a bigger volume so I can show you some of the things that I have mentioned already that we haven't seen yet. So I will open up now this volume that has also, like said, we can run the smart anatomy automatically. So here also it has been run and it has automatically segmented the airways and the sinuses. And one thing, by the way, that I haven't mentioned yet is that also all of these views that we have here, they have this arrow on the upper right corner, so you can maximize any of those views there. And for example, if we want to see now better the airways and the sinuses, so I can hide the actual rendering, so we can see only those segmentations. And then, but let's get back here. So here, these were the AI segmented functionalities. The AI here for the airways, it's a nice visualization, of course, and for the sinuses. But I want to show you a few other tools that make sense also if you're interested in the airways and the diagnostics for that, and also if you're interested in being able to calculate sinus lift. So for those, I will hide those segmentations. So for those, we can start by using here under the tools, we have this extract airways tool. And how that works is that we just need to give a few clicks. But the first thing is that we select the slice view here to this sagittal view. We select that one, and then like the tool here says, click points along the airway. So you just click a few clicks along the airways of the patient, and then you click done. And now Romexis, it segments also this marked area. And the nice thing here now compared with the segmentation of the AI is that here we actually get at every axial slice view, we get the area. And we also have the colors, so you can see here it's red, so that means that is the narrowest part of this patient's airways. And I can now with the mouse left click move in the airways, so we can see how the area changes, area calculation changes like this. And you can of course view it also if you wish to better see it in the axial view. So you just maximize the axial view here, and you can move in the slices and see the measurements there. So that is a very nice tool for anyone interested in airways analysis. Then I will show you another tool that we have here in the annotations that we didn't see yet. So that one is for the sinus lift. And for the sinus lift, now we can, or we have a few different ways of doing that. So if we are wanting to evaluate the amount of bone graft that we would need for a sinus lift, so let's go here, for example, there. So I concentrate my views, first of all, to the area of interest. And now under the annotation tools, so this is now important to remember, we don't have a tool that is called sinus lift, but we have two functions here that you can use for that purpose. And those are this measure ellipsoid. And then, so we do that one first, and then we use this region growing. So the measuring of ellipsoid, this is just a tool that draws an ellipsoid, like the name says. And this one now is an ellipsoid that you can then adjust from all the different slice views, so that it covers the area that you want to fill. And then we go to the next tool, so the 3D region growing. So this is a tool that actually has multiple different purposes, but basically it helps us to segment some areas from the volume. So as you can see here, well, by default, it shows the air cavity, and that is the one that we are going to use also for this sinus lift evaluation, but it also shows bone, soft tissue, and root cavity. So you can measure different kind of areas in the volume with this one. And now, well, as it explains here as well, select one of the presets or adjust parameters manually, and then select a seed point from within a 3D regions to start region growing. So now what I just need to do is I just need to click once here on any of the 3D slices on the area that I want to do the sinus lift for. And now we did it. Let's close that one. So now we can see here in this box where we have measurement, there's a region volume and region area. So region volume is now the area of that space that we colored. Now let's see actually if I hide here. So, well, this was such a big volume, so it's very small, the area that we colored, but there it is. And this one, like I said, it shows the region volume. That is the same in all the slices, and then below the region area. So that is just the area in that specific slice view. But now this would be a good evaluation to be used when evaluating how much of bone graft is needed. Let's then bring back that one. And now I promised to show you also with this one the virtual cephalometric. So like I said, you can from any CBCT, of course, makes sense only for the big volumes, but you can create the virtual cephalometric 2D images easily. So Romexis opens up this dialog where you can then, there are a few different filtering options that you can select from here and adjust the contrast and brightness, of course, for those as well. And select which, if you want a PA direction or lateral, and if you want it from the left or right side, and or if you want to do left and right. But basically, you just select the things that you want from here. You can add the rulers even, and you click save, and then Romexis creates that view, and like we can see here, it saves it automatically to the 2D module. It's found on the Ceph images. And so if we want to create multiple of these, we can do it at the same time. And then when we are finalized, then we just click close. But quite nice and easy. Okay, one more thing that I haven't mentioned about the smart anatomy, and which makes sense for very much sense for bigger volumes, or volumes, for example, that we use for the analysis of the temporomandibular joints. So there are still these two modules that we haven't seen that I promised to show you today. So the TMJ module. So now with the help of AI, whatever we have captured, the CBCT, and if you have configured so that Romexis automatically runs this smart anatomy, so it will also detect landmarks from the volume. And the landmarks, they are those are cephalometric landmarks that it finds there. And thanks to that, Romexis will also automatically be able to give us all these views directly when we open up the TMJ module for the first time for this patient, for this image. And so like you can see here, it has automatically found the condyles. And then, of course, here it's up to me then to select how many slice views again I want to see. So we have again here the same range where we can adjust the how many slices you want to see, and if you want to do the modifications only for this specific image, or if you want to do it for as a default settings for all the new images. So that one, of course, would happen from here, from the default settings, just like we have seen before already. But a very nice way, and then you can of course adjust more also these what we see in red here, the cross-sectional slices. And then of course do measurements or take the snapshots directly from here, just like we have seen in the previous steps as well. So one more thing that really saves a lot of clicks from the user now that we are able to do all of this with the AI. Okay, let's then jump to another volume. I will open up this. We will see the last, well, not the last one, but the superimpose module that we have here. So for that, I need to have some patient that we have before and after volume 4. So we have here a patient. We have the volume from before. And now when I go to the superimpose tab, I can do directly a fitting of the after volume to this. So we can select to fit manually or use the fitting tool. So I will show you how to use the fitting tool, and then I will also adjust it a bit manually, so then you will see how both ways work. And of course, typically the fitting tool is easier to use because their Romexis does more automatically the things. So I go here to the select, and now I need to select the after volume. I have it here. So these are all the CBCTs that this patient has. And now with these 2 volumes, so now let's zoom in with the mouse scroll. I will adjust a bit the threshold. Actually, let's take a look up there. So now this is important step, of course, to adjust the threshold in such way that we see more or less the same kind of threshold in both of the images. And also it's important, for example, this patient, well, we can see here already it's an orthognathic patient who has had surgery in the mandible and maxilla. And so therefore, now when we superimpose these 2 volumes, we must know which areas of the volume have stayed or should have stayed the same. So of course, we need to give Romexis 3 points. And I will select them now from the upper maxilla area here. So because that area should not have been touched by the treatment and surgery that this patient has had. So I will rotate. Important to have both of the volumes so that you are looking at them from the same angle. And then you try to find some areas where, for example, here we have something that we can see easily on both volumes. So I can select from there. Then the next one, by the way, here by pressing down mouse right and left clicks, you can drag the volume here on the image and then mouse wheel scrolling. I will select the next point here. And then the third one on this side. And as you may have noticed, so I try to select the points as well, first of all, far away from each other, but also from all the different sides of the volume. So that because if the points are far away from each other like this, so it's more probable that Romexis gives a good result. But not to worry, we can still adjust it manually if we select the dots or if they don't work well. So then I click done. So now Romexis does the mapping of these 2. And now we see the results. So we can see here, there's in the, well, below here, you can see in grayscale the before volume, and then the after volume is shown in these brownish scales. And now I can see that, okay, my match wasn't perfect, but that's good because now I will show you how to manually modify that if needed. And one thing that I want to also mention here is that let's not look at the spine. Those areas, they might change depending on the position of the patient in the imaging. But for example, here I know that the changes of the treatment, they should have happened around here. So what I want to check is that I have this area of the image well fitted. And that is actually, at the end, it's quite easy to see when it's well fitted because the image gets sharp. So I will show you how that happens. So we have here under the adjustment tools, I have this move and rotate volume 2. So now with the mouse right click, I can drag this. And with the mouse, mouse left click, I can drag, and mouse right click, I can rotate. So you can see here easily, I'm moving it now more so that you see the difference, but I can do the movements from any of these slice views. So you just move it little by little so that when you will see then when the image gets clearer, sharper, so you will know that you have found the right match between both images. So you adjust that one here. And then when you are happy with the matching, then you can, of course, you must remember to take that tool out. And well, first of all, you can, of course, slice here in the views and see the changes. Like we can see, for example, here, we can see the changes in the movement of the mandible. And then we have also the possibility of viewing here under the superimpose. You have this second tool, side-by-side view. So here you can view this is the before volume, and below we see the after volume. So you can view them as well side by side here, if that is wanted, or you can select which other slice views that you want to see here from the sagittal, coronal, and axial. And actually here also, if we go back here, so we of course have the annotation tools, so you can do the measurements here if you wish. Also, and those are of course then saved. And this superimpose tool, it actually also, or it doesn't require that the two volumes would be of the same size. So you can have, well, typically maybe the before volume, before treatment is a bigger volume, and then after treatment, maybe you just want to take a smaller volume with less resolution, and that is very fine to work with those two different sized volumes and two different resolutions. The only thing that you need to remember is, of course, that you need to have some places in the image that you can match them reliably. So that is the only thing that you need to take into account there. Okay, one more thing. I will open up an endodontic image. So a smaller volume. And then, so here I just want to quickly show that this, well, endodontic volume, again, we have the tooth navigation automatically done by AI, the nerve is traced. And we have, because for this 3D rendered view, we also have different kind of presets. So you can find them here under the 3D rendering, more tools. And you have a big list of different renderings here. And now what I'm using here, for example, is this endodontic rendering. So, well, you can just change in between of these different rendering modes just by clicking here. But I'm using the endo one. And I think this is a very nice rendering mode for visualization of, well, of course, let's actually maximize this. So if you're on a small screen, so you can see better as well. So you can see very clearly and nicely here as well the endodontically already treated teeth. You can see the canals of the existing teeth, and also, of course, if there are any problems, like we can see here. So a very nice view to have, and also again for communicating with the patient, and then of course also for better diagnostics and treatment planning. Okay, maybe one thing that I could mention also, if there is someone who wants to do printouts from Romexis, so we have a very how do you say, modifiable printing possibility here. So we have, well, let's print those images now, but so you can configure your own templates here, and the idea is that you could have some templates, and then it would be easy to get always all the same images if you want a panoramic image from the patient, and some snapshots, for example, or whatever it is. So you can configure different kind of templates so that it's easy and nice to use this with your own logos and clinic information, and then of course the patient information comes. But I won't go more into detail on this session, because we also actually do have a nice tutorial video on that. And that being said, if you now if you are a new user to Romexis, or even if you would be already an older existing user of Romexis, so there's two helpful resources that I want to tell you about and remind you about. The first thing is this: we have the link, this video link here on the corner of Romexis, on the upper right corner, and that one takes you to our Romexis tutorial video page. You can of course Google as well Romexis tutorial videos, and you will get here. So we have here a lot of different tutorial videos, as you can see. So most of these are maybe 1 minute long videos. Most of them show the usage of one specific tool. So these are very nice resources if you want to check how something is done. But also we do have in Romexis, since Romexis 7 version, we have Romexis Assistant, which is a AI chatbot. Let's ask something. How can I export a 3D volume, for example? And this is a chatbot that it requires internet connection, because it is used with the internet, but this one gives you answers based on our user manual and on our tutorial videos. So for example, here it fetched from the user manual the information on how to export, and then it also suggests some of the tutorial videos. So I can directly just click here and see the video without finding it myself from this tutorial videos list. So very, very useful resources for anyone wanting to learn and master new tools in Romexis. Also, we of course have the webinar series will continue in 2 weeks. We will have another webinar. So the next one is about 3D implant planning and guide designing. After that, we look into the usage of 2D imaging tools there. We also have some nice AI tools, well, and also for implant planning, we have AI tools that I will show. And then the two last ones are for orthodontic tools, and then the last one in March will be on the CMF surgery module. So I hope you will be able to join me on those as well. And last but not least, in case you don't have Romexis yet and you would want to find your local distributor, so please know that Romexis is sold by Planmeca and Cavo dealers. So you have on Planmeca website, you have the search for distributors on your or your closest distributors, and then the same on the Cavo side, of course. But I want to thank you now on all the all your participation. And also, I hope you have asked a lot of good questions. I hope you will keep asking them. We will answer with my colleagues, and I hope you have. I hope you get to master these new skills that you have learned very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.